go. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Thursday, and thank you for coming this afternoon to share some insightful tips on this week one. Congratulations for making it this far. You are at almost the end of week one, which is kind of crazy how quickly it goes. So what I do here first, just to test out the room and the sound to make sure that there's no feedback or echoing in the background, I'm going to count to 3 and open your mic. So if you would say hello to everyone, we can test out the room. So in 3, 2, 1. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hola. Hello, everyone.
Okay, that's not bad. That's not bad. Anyone hearing any feedback or reverb in the background?
No.
Cool.
No.
Very cool. So for now, what I'm going to do is I'll leave the mics open. If it starts to get too much in the background, what I'll do is I'll mute your mics, and then if you have a question, there is a chat box. Many of you have figured that out already, which is really cool. You have a control panel that is on your screen, and the very last arrow that you could drop down is called chat, and that'll bring you to the chat box. I will tell you that while I'm speaking, it's difficult to get your questions because the chat box is so small and the text goes by really, really fast. So please understand that I'm not ignoring you. I am totally for you asking questions, and I will get to your question. But the best way for me to have a visual that you have a question is the raise your hand button. The raise your hand button is underneath all the names of the attendees in this class currently, and it looks like a hand with an arrow going through it. So if you would just take the time to press that once so I can see that you know where it is. Cool. Okay. And to lower your hand, you just press it again. Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so let's get down to business of why I brought you guys here. Many of you, well, hopefully, we have already started to get introduced to Nancy and her book, Resignate. Oh, that was some noise in the background, but that's okay. That hopefully you got introduced to Nancy and you started reading some of the chapters of the amazing things that she has to offer this month for us. I myself, I feel like I am connected to her in some ways. When I found out that these books were going to be part of my class, I was extremely excited just because we share some of the same philosophies. And you know, it's all about story, and she believes, and I believe, that a strong presentation starts with story. And I will ask you guys, why do you think story is so effective when it comes to relating to your audience? Why do you think story is so important? Kristen, I see your hand up. Would you like to answer?
Sure. I think with the story, I don't know, for me personally, I always find that in some way, shape, or form, people can find a way to relate to it, whether with something going on in their life or with people in their life. And I think that's how people relate to the story and get almost attached to the story and find it interesting to listen to the speaker.
Absolutely. And I couldn't have said it better myself. Absolutely. It's the emotions. It's emotions that are universal. We've all laughed, we've all cried, we've all felt fear and vulnerability. Um, we've felt happy and sad. And even though we might not be going through the exact situation at the exact same time, there are moments in our life that we've felt the same way. And a story allows for other people to relate and picture what it was like for them in that situation. And it's engaging. Um, so Nancy talks a lot about the basic elements of a story when it comes to building your presentation. And the very basic elements of a story are what? What do you need essentially to start and finish a story? Felicia, you have your hand up. So would you like to answer?
To start and to end the story, because from what I gathered from her, you want to start a story off where it grabs your audience attention, where you're not you can get your audience get to see where you're coming from, and the end of the story is basically you're supposed to give them like a way to remember you after you give them, after your presentation. So the start of the presentation is to be able to grab everybody's attention, and the end of the presentation is to end it off by saying, what it is that you're trying to get your audience to understand.
Okay, and absolutely, you are correct. You wanna begin a story with that hook, and end the story with kind of your call to action and or moral of the story. You want to end it in a way that your audience is taking something away from it, whether it is to inform or it's to make a decision or it is to call them into action. Um, so you're absolutely correct. But what I'm looking for is when you sit down to write a story, what is the foundation, the very basics of what is needed to have a complete story? And it's simple. Think simple. Grace, you have your hand up.
For me, I know when I write, I really start with the characters and just pretty much where I want them to go and how they get there. Just pretty much just draw up my characters first.
Okay,
What about you,
again,
Cynthia?
definitely the characters are an important part of the story. They're pretty much the figures of what your readers or your audience are going to relate to because they're supposed to be the mirror image of who the reader is. They're the ones that the reader and the audience is going to relate to. So absolutely. But fundamentally, the foundation of a complete story, what is needed. And Arrow, you have your hand up.
Middle, beginning, and end. I mean, wait, beginning, middle, end. My bad.
And you're right either way, because some people actually do that middle first very effectively, or start at the end very effectively. Just ask Quentin Tarantino. So yes, fundamentally the foundation of building a story. It has a definitive beginning, middle, and end. Why do you think it's so important to have that all-encompassing foundation for a story. Why does a story need a definitive beginning, middle, and end? Felicia, you have your hand up. Felicia, did you want to answer? Oh, there might be a sound difficulty, but the reasoning behind having the foundation of a beginning, middle, and end, because ultimately, whether you're the writer or you're the presenter, ultimately, a goal of yours is to direct your audience through a presentation or through your story. You're taking them on this journey of discovery, and you're allowing them to have this direction throughout your entire presentation when it comes to your presentations. So you want to make that clear for your audience in order to follow you and to believe what you believe and see what you see and be immersed in your story and relate to you and stay engaged. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. So today, what we're going to go over some of the concepts of what's in the chapters this week is Nancy's idea about the hero versus the mentor. The preconceptions are that the mentor is the hero, that they're one and the same. Like how are they different? But on the contrary. She believes that the audience is your hero. And what I'm going to do is I'm getting some feedback over here. I'm going to go ahead and mute your mics. But like I said, you can use the chat box and you could use that raise your hand button. Believe me, I'm all about participation. And I love to hear from you guys. I love when you talk. It's a way for us to learn from each other. So do not hesitate to raise your hand. Do not hesitate to ask questions or even answer questions. Okay, so we're going to start with the hero. And meeting the hero, the reasoning behind this whole thing is that the audience, in fact, is your hero. Before I begin to explain, what do you think that means? Why would Nancy say such a thing? Why would she say that the audience is the hero? What makes them the hero over us, the mentor? And Felicia, you have your hand up, but the hand keeps on going up, so I'm not sure if you want to speak or okay. Does anyone want to take a shot at that? Why do you think Nancy believes that the audience is the hero? Okay, Jordan, cool. Let me unmute you. Hi, Jordan. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Wonderful.
All right. So the reason that I believe that the people that we're presenting to in this situation are the hero is because, and that we're the mentor, is because when we're giving the presentation, whatever we're presenting about, we're not really giving it to, like, help them. We're trying to persuade them and to sit them in the mindset to help us. We're the mentor in the situation of helping them realize that they need to choose the path, which of course that path is helping us with whatever we're presenting to try to get them to persuade them to do.
And I like it, yes. And in some aspects, that is so true. because we are up there, whether it's presenting an educational note, like we want them to walk away with an idea or a brand new perspective, or we're getting them to make a decision and we're calling them into action. So absolutely, in that aspect, we're persuading them to make a decision to move. Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you for volunteering. Would anyone else like to add to that? You guys are shy today. That's okay. That's okay. But Jordan is correct. Essentially, my philosophy and Nancy's philosophy behind this is the audience is a hero because an idea needs to go somewhere and it needs to land. So as the mentor, we're planting the seed and we're putting the seed in their hands. And in order for our idea to take off and be planted in the universe, in society, outside of the presentation room, they're your hero because they're the ones that are going to take that idea and spread it. Does that make sense? So the presentation, yes, it is to persuade, but it has to be about them as well. You need to treat your audience as if they are a part of this whole thing. They're a part of this whole idea. They have an intricate part in the whole idea. Especially nowadays, we've been blessed with technology. And although people use it for evil and spread negativity, there's power in having technology at our fingertips. And ideas spread more rapidly than they ever did before. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, communication has changed so much. And if you don't think that people are taking out their smartphones and tweeting about the presentation that they're at, or updating their Facebook status, or using Periscope, or whatever social media device that they have access to, they are. So your idea that you present has so much power placed in their hands, and you are planting the seed for them to go out and plant those apple trees like Johnny Appleseed when we were in elementary school. So they're your hero. They are going to spread your ideas. And Felicia, I do see your hand up. So I don't want to skip you, and I'll just ask, do you have a question or a comment? Cool. Okay, let me unmute you. Hi, Felicia, go ahead.
Hi, you just made me think about, I went to a leadership conference with my company, and there was a speaker there. Her name was Carla Harris, and everything you said was basically on point, because what she was presenting to us as far as leadership as being women in the company that I work for, it did resonate throughout the women, and we spread it like wildfire. And I understand now what you mean by we're the heroes, and she's the mentor, because she mentored us and to try to basically be a mentor to other people that's around us. Is that kind of like what you're saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Knowing that it goes when it's your turn to be the presenter, and let's get to the mentor since we're going on that track. So learn something you will. Being the mentor is beyond your idea and beyond you. It's you are giving a part of yourself in a way that you are educating, you're bringing about awareness, and you're trying to celebrate the fact that your audience has the power to change the world or even change perspectives. And you're giving them this power that you as the mentor have this education and you have the awareness, you've done the research, you've built your presentation, and now it's time to give that to others so they can get an awareness about themselves. So even if it goes beyond making a decision to help you, they're helping them by being self-aware of what they can do in the whole situation. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand 100%.
Awesome, awesome. How about the rest of you? Are you following? Does it make sense? Cool. And that's what's so invigorating about being a mentor. And I can definitely relate to both. I've been both. I will be both probably for the rest of my life. What makes being an educator so exciting for me and keeps me waking up is the fact that having that relationship, allowing myself to give knowledge and celebrate the fact that I'm celebrating talent and creativity and possible leadership in others. And that makes me happy. Even if it's not for my advancement, getting the chance to watch all of you grow and evolve and follow your dreams is something that I'm very passionate about. And if you embrace that mindset that you as the mentor, you have this power to give your education, to give your knowledge, to spread your idea, to create something that is bigger than you've ever imagined in your life, it will set you free, and it will make you happy, and it will keep you motivated. Okay, so how do you relate to your audience? Let's just take that question for a second. Starting from ground zero, starting this class fresh, how do you feel that you can relate to your audience? And Arrow, I see your hand up, so I'm gonna unmute your mic. Hi Arrow, how are you?
Good. And it's Aaron. I don't know why I put arrow, but
Okay,
I
I
I
will
think
correct.
I think you relate to your audience by touching subjects that maybe not the person relates to but can feel, like if I'm watching something about the Holocaust, I can't relate to that, but I can feel it. And I feel like that's how you relate to your audience. You make them honestly feel the feeling that you want to feel, that you want them to feel, not exactly them having the same connection 100%.
Beautiful, beautiful. And although that is a crazy strong, vivid example, that's what makes us human. Even though we haven't experienced that horrific historical event, as a fellow human being, we feel and we understand and
Right.
to relate on some level. It doesn't mean that we've gone through the same situations, but we have felt that fear on some different level. We've felt that pain and that sadness. Um, so, as a fellow human being, we can relate to those things. Absolutely. Cool. Thank you, Aaron.
No problem.
Anyone else want to take a crack at it? How else can you relate to an audience? We're we're silent this afternoon. That's cool. It's all right. I can talk. Believe me, I can talk. um, so what Aaron was saying, shared experiences, even though it's not the same situation, it may not even be the same characters, um, but knowing emotions are universal. It's what makes us human. If we didn't feel emotions, then we would be androids and computer screens. The fact that we feel and have emotions make us human, and the fact that we're human beings connects us all together. No matter what background that we're from, no matter what experiences we have gone through in life, it is the emotions that connected us together. Common goals is another one. Now, how do you find out? How would you find out as the presenter? How would you find out that your audience has a common goal? Anyone want to take a shot at that? How would you know as the presenter that the audience has a common goal? How can you figure that out? Yes, Felicia. Asking questions to the crowd. Absolutely. Oh, and it looks like Grace had the same thing. But yes, ask questions. Ask questions in the crowd and find out who your audience is. Read the room. You know, um, it kind of makes you feel at home once you find out who your audience is, and you can adjust to who is in the room and start to speak that way, or use examples that you would think they would get, in order to find those common goals. Qualifications. Now, qualifications is basically your credibility, and you want your audience to trust you. And by giving examples and utilizing your qualifications, you know, whether it's degrees that you have, or internships that you've been on, or volunteer work, uh, programs that you use, skills that you have, that you possess, that you could bring to the table. So, having the audience trust in you, that you, not that you have to be an expert at what you are talking about, but give evidence that you've done your research and you have you have put yourself on a path in order to be successful and talk about these things. Make sense so far? Oh my goodness, my voice is cracking. I apologize. I apologize for that. Okay, with this, there's 4 types of audience to really understand. Now, this is not every single type of audience that is out there, but these are the basic ones. And it's helpful as the presenter to be aware of how to combat is a negative word, but how to relate or even be able to switch on a switch to engage these types of audiences. So what I allude this to is in my former life, I was a DJ. I was the DJ in my former life. And what makes a DJ successful is knowing how to read an audience. You have to be aware of your surroundings. You have to be aware of the situation. You have to be aware of the time in the party that things are happening, and read their expression. You know, are they getting up to dance, or are they chilling, eating their dinner or one of their courses throughout the party? You really have to know that if you have a crowd full of people that are into rock, you may not want to put on a Wu-Tang Clan record. You know, it's knowing your atmosphere, it's knowing your audience. Same thing, you know, what if you're doing a kid's birthday party? You wouldn't put on like gangster rap all of a sudden. It may go really over their head and what to do. So reading your audience is essential. And basically what we have talked about previously in finding common ground and shared experiences, asking questions, these are all great things in order to read your audience. So the first one, friendly. This is the utopia. This is what we all want. And for the most part, when people are going to a seminar or they're going to a presentation, for the most part, they're going because they want to be there. They want to be informed. They want to be able to invest their money. They want to find someone they want to work with. They want to have the ability to hire. So for the most part, you have a friendly audience. You have people that are receptible. They want your success. They want to walk away with something. And that, my friends, is the utopia. So for the most part, in this environment, that's what you're going to have. You all have a common ground by wanting to be successful, by wanting to finish your degree and go off to work in the industry. No matter what part of the industry you want to be a part of, you still want to break into the entertainment industry. So for the most part, while you're in here, you have this friendly audience, and feel good about that. Take a deep breath and know that we're all here to support each other, and ultimately we want each other's success. You never know who you are speaking to on the discussion boards, and I mentioned this the very first lecture. You never know if you're talking to the next hottest producer or director of the next blockbuster, or the next CEO of an empire like Disney. Like, you have no idea right now in the now, in this melting pot of a CRP class, who you will be speaking to and what the future is going to hold. So it's best to build that community. It's best to build those relationships, and communication is the key. Communication is the key. And Jordan, I love it. You should have that confidence and take it with you the entire journey. Like, own it. Own what you want to become. Absolutely. The next type of audience is apathetic. What does that mean? What does it mean to be apathetic? And you could type it in. Considerate of other people's feelings. I can see it's actually the opposite of that, but Kristen, you're close. The terms are very, very close together. You're talking about having empathy. Empathy is consideration of other feelings. Being empathetic is really strong in relating to an audience because you're open-minded. You're seeing the other side. So you are close, but apathy is actually the exact opposite. It's not really the exact opposite because it's kind of indifference. And I'm seeing a lot of you saying uninterested, not really interested, or low interest in the subject. And that's what apathy is about. It's indifference. It's kind of like, picture the person that's in your presentation that is shrugging their shoulders and like have their hands folded and leaning back. They're not really interested in this subject. Now, before I go into any of my spiel and experience, how do you deal with someone that is apathetic? How do you deal? Has anyone in this class dealt with that? Carter, that is a way. You could leave them alone, and you know, if they're choosing to shut off, okay. But if you're the mentor and your purpose is to inform, how do you deal with that? Felicia, I'll tell him I'll pray for you. That's really nice. That's really nice for you to do. Absolutely. Grace says, I relate to them about an experience where I felt the same. Awesome. Awesome. Yes. You know, we were talking about finding that common ground and relating to your audience. So finding out or sharing an experience where you felt the same way. Awesome. Give them an interest in the subject. Aaron, I would love for you to elaborate on that. How would you go about doing that? How could you get them interested? I know it's hard. Believe me, I know it's hard. I've been a teacher for a long time, so I know it's difficult. Maybe talking on a worldwide subject that affects everyone. Yeah, it could be. You could find that kind of universal feel. And again, it takes finesse, and it takes experience, and it takes reading the room, but absolutely. Okay, So I'll tell you a little quick story. Before I became an instructor at Full Sail, I was a high school teacher. And I taught everyone's favorite subject, which was literature. I know everyone loves literature, don't you all? So that's besides the point. I've had wonderful students that were so into it and so into the subject, and related in so many different ways. Now, I'm not saying this in a bad way. It is meant to give you an example of an empathetic audience. So, sixth period, my entire class was the football team. My entire senior class for sixth period was the football team. And I was teaching Shakespeare. Okay. Are you guys with me? Okay. Love them to death. I have no prejudice against football teams. But you can see my pain, that the relationship between football and Shakespeare just does not mesh. Okay, so I had the task of, what am I gonna do? They're not getting the fundamentals of the elements of a story, or elements of Shakespearean tragedy. And I had to dig deep. Luckily, I was the firstborn, and I wasn't a boy, and my father was dead set on teaching me the game. And to this day, I love football. So, digging deep, I used it to my advantage. And I found that common ground. Okay, well, here I have football players. I'm going to relate to what they're used to, and I'm going to speak their language. So to make a long story short, I needed to illustrate turning point in one of our lectures. And we had just had a game on Friday night, and I used the game to explain it. And I said, you know, when the other quarterback threw the football into our end zone and they were supposed to make a touchdown, and then, forgive me, I forgot his name, caught the ball from our team and ran it back to put us forward 6 points, turning point. And all of a sudden, these light bulbs appeared above all their heads, and it was amazing. So it's finding that common ground and meeting them halfway. Because remember that your audience is your hero. And in order for them to get a takeaway, because ultimately every audience, no matter who they are, they want that takeaway. In the industry, it's your fans. Your fans want a takeaway. They want something in return. So what are you giving them? What ultimately are you giving them? Does that make sense so far? Cool. So that was a little victory. That was a sweet little victory that made me very happy. Okay, so then we have apathetic, which is indifferent. What's the difference between apathetic and uninformed? Okay, Aaron, go ahead.
Okay, well, apathetic kind of means like you don't really care about the subject, but uninformed is like it's not that you don't care, it's just that you're uninformed, so you really can't participate. So both audiences probably can't participate, but one is because he doesn't know of the subject, the other one is because he doesn't care for the subject.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, uninformed is it's basically they your audience just does not know. And they're going to the presentation or they're listening to your presentation because they want to be in the know. They want to walk away with an understanding of what to do. They're seeking knowledge. So, with an uninformed audience, what can you do to help them understand? Okay, I'll ask this in a different way. What is something as the mentor, as the presenter, that you could do to turn off an uninformed audience member? What can you do that would make them just tune you out and be uncomfortable? Okay. Aaron? Go ahead, Aaron.
Well, to make them feel uncomfortable, like a negative thing, I think what some teachers do sometimes is they go by really fast, and then once you like, for me personally, if a teacher goes by fast, and just the fact of being around new people in a class, I don't want to interrupt the class to stop it, you know. So I mean, I'm thinking sometimes if they go at a regular pace or well, I mean a good pace, you know, just a good pace, it would work out better. So that's something negative they could do.
I like it. So, just basically, and as an educator, what I get from that and what I've learned is that sometimes as the presenter, whether you're an educator or you're a motivational speaker or you're presenting material in such a way, you have this thing about you. You've done the research, you've taken the classes, you have the degrees or the experience, so you know it like the back of your hand. And sometimes you fall into this space where you think everybody else knows the same thing, right? So you make that assumption and you go on with your presentation as if they know exactly what you know. And
Right.
it sometimes it comes across as going way too fast and way beyond their over their heads. And as the mentor, you have to slow down sometimes, and it goes back to being able to read the room. And it takes time, it takes practice, it takes experience to really understand that. And Carter says, being condescending, absolutely, that as well. You can come across as very condescending if you are presenting your material as if they should know already. So awesome. Thank you guys for sharing that. And Felicia, you have your hand up. Hi, Felicia.
Hi. For me, when someone is, well, it all depends on the mood that the person is that is also presented, because I've have, and depend on a certain position that people are in. I have a worldwide regional manager that will come and speak to us, and we're sitting there looking at him like he's speaking another language, and it takes our site director to break down what he just said, and it's like, okay, why is he speaking to us as if we in this corporate world instead of relating to the audience? like who you're presenting it to. So it was just everybody was just in a negative way because we left out having no idea what he's talking about. So I think another thing is to, if a person really don't know how to relate to an audience, maybe they should practice with someone before they try to give someone, present something, because it is a different world depending on what level you are in certain situations.
Absolutely. And there's so much truth in that. And it's unfortunate because it happens more time than not. And again, it's not that the presenter wants to come across that way. It's that we make the assumptions that everyone knows what we know, when it's on the contrary. We're the ones that wrote the story. We're the ones that did the research. We're the ones that found the support for our ideas, but have to know that maybe we have to slow down a little bit and not use some of the $5 billion words that are in our industry only, and the average person doesn't know. And that doesn't make your audience not smart. It just makes them uninformed, like they haven't been subjected to that part, and they're coming to seek that knowledge. They want to know it. So stepping back sometimes needs to happen. I usually relate to this is to, if you're going to an elementary school and you're talking to these kids about health and nutrition, and you go in there as the doctor with the PhD and kind of read from Grey's Anatomy, are they going to know what you're talking about? Right? They'll have no idea what you're talking about. Some might even cry and leave the room, you know? So it's really all, it comes down to knowing your audience and reading your audience, asking those questions. I know that some of the most effective presentations that I've gone through is the speaker comes out into the audience or out in the hallway ahead of time and has conversations with the people that are going to go into the presentation, shakes their hand, asks them questions, conversates, maybe even hands out some information before the presentation starts. So there's several different ways that you can connect with your audience even before the presentation happens. Cool. Okay. And the last one, before I start going over what the assignments are for this week, and for the most part, I'm absolutely in love what's happening on the discussion boards. I'm blown away by your stories and how much you relate to each other and how much support and the insight, all these insightful stories that you're sharing and experiences. I'm so excited because I already see what's going to happen by the end of this month. I already see that you guys have the ability to put together a solid presentation. So hopefully that excites you, knowing that I already foresee success in here. And I do hope that continues throughout the entire month. It's really important. Again, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but it's relationships and that community building that is going to help you throughout your entire program. On that note, we go to the last audience type. And no one wants to see this face, do they? Do you want to see a mean face in the crowd? I don't. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. So, what I usually ask, and I don't want to spend too much time because it ends up going into a huge conversation, which I love, but I want to make sure that you guys get all the information that you need for the weekend. How many of you in this current class have been in customer service or hospitality in some way, shape, or form? How many of you? Okay, basically everyone. I think we all have our our taste of the public and have to deal with society. I think we all have to deal with that in one way or another in our lives. It really makes us stronger. Ultimately, how do you deal with a hostile customer? Or how do you deal with a hostile environment? With kindness. I love it. Felicia, we're kindred spirits. With kindness. I love it. Let me get my manager. In some cases, Jordan, absolutely. In some cases, you really don't have a choice, and it's almost what they need. They need you to get a manager or get someone that has a badge or has the title. It just makes them feel better. Make them happy. The customer is always right. Okay, so relating to all these things, and I'm sure you can hear the smirk that's on my face. But relating this to an audience that's hostile it's almost one and the same. You are, again, they are your hero. Ultimately, you want them to take the seed that you planted and spread your idea and share it with the world. Especially if it's something that you believe in your heart of hearts and you want to see a change. They're the ones that are going to take the idea that comes out of your mouth and spread it. So in dealing with a hostile customer or a hostile audience, ultimately what that person wants is acknowledgement. Ultimately, whether they're argumentative and it uprises and it just goes back and forth, ultimately they want to be acknowledged. And once they're acknowledged, it usually distinguishes the fire. Not to say that that is the case all of the time. There are those people that are on a mission as soon as they wake up to, I'm trying to find a word without, I'm trying to find a word that is nice. But, yeah, there's some people that are just on a mission. You know, they have a chip on their shoulder and they're going to make everybody else miserable because they feel miserable. But it's all a matter of being acknowledged. Grace, well, Felicia says, I'll pray for them. Yeah, that can work. Grace says, I need to help and be kind, and if they're in a bad mood, I can ask what's wrong in case they need to vent. Yeah, some people just need our sounding board. You know, we have no idea what is going on in other people's heads. If we had that power, it would be very noisy and now you know how the being superior feels. Hearing everyone's complaints and everybody's hardships, it's not easy. It's not easy. However, being a fellow human being, what we can do for each other is acknowledge each other's existence and acknowledge that that person is trying to make a statement or share an opinion, and don't dismiss it. If you dismiss it, what happens? If you dismiss someone's opinion or pain, yeah, they'll start to feel like they don't matter and they get defensive. And as human beings, we are defensive people. That is truth. No matter who we are in this universe, we are defensive people. And it makes, if we get dismissed, if our opinions are not heard, if our ideas are not heard, if our pain, if our happiness, no matter what the emotion may be, it causes us to get even more defensive, because now we want to be heard. And in order to be heard, we get louder, and then we get even more louder. And the purpose of what we set out to do gets blurred, and it doesn't get heard, and nothing gets resolved, and it just keeps going back and forth. So if we just acknowledge that from the get-go, that frown turns upside down and we find our common ground. And it's not to say that anyone is right or wrong, anyone is better than anyone else. It's acknowledging that we're all different, we all have different opinions, and that this world would be such a bland, dismal place if we didn't allow for each other to share our perceptions. So it's a matter of having that empathy and knowing that that person is not coming from a place to attack us. They're coming from a place to try to understand and relate to the situation and bring a new perspective and new light to what is being presented. Does that make sense? Awesome. So hopefully you'll take that in life, just being able to acknowledge a person, not just in a negative way, not just in a hostile environment. I did a social experiment with my seniors a couple of years back, and I called it the power of hello. And the way that I would talk them is that we don't realize how much power we have as an individual. We have so much power beyond our understanding or scope. It's amazing what you can do for someone else by saying good morning, or saying good afternoon, or saying hello, or nodding your head. Just the fact that you're acknowledging their existence makes their day different, and it may change their entire day. It may change the way that they've been thinking about themselves, because you have no idea what's going on in someone else's head. But a simple hello can change a person's day. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a hostile environment. It could be an everyday occurrence. Okay, I'm gonna stop preaching because I tend to go off on a tangent, especially when I feel passionate about something. So, getting back to the task at hand. Oh, this is a quote from Resonate. And designing a presentation without an audience in mind is like writing a love letter and addressing it to whom it may concern. Okay, there's meaning what? On a simple level, what does that mean? What does that mean? In comparison, if you address a letter to whom it may concern, what happens? Oop, there's silence again. Okay, Aaron, cool. Aaron saves the day.
I feel like it's basically saying like a love letter is to somebody specific, and if you're saying who it may concern, you're just putting it out in the air. The person won't know. So I think that was the connotation of what she was saying.
Awesome. Yes. And then then you're putting your idea into a universe, and it's not sticking. It's not resonating with or giving the purpose that it's supposed to give. And that's what it comes down to. It knowing your audience makes it that much tighter. It gives you, the mentor, a direction. And once you have a direction, then you can give your audience a direction. And it's
Right.
like that DJ. It's knowing what record is next in order for your audience to be immersed in the music. You want them to be immersed in the presentation and feel a part of it and be an active participant in the presentation. So cool. Very cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. All right. Any questions on the concepts that we went over? And this does not pertain to you, sorry. Any questions on the concepts that we went over? Cool. Okay. So before we go into the week 1 assignment, as a review, I'll just go over the discussion board briefly. Now, last night, I asked for the initial post to be up there, which, thank you. I will thank you live right now. Thank you so much for getting those initial posts up there. It's allowed me to go in and read and respond to your post. Again, one of my favorite things is to make a pot of coffee and go on the discussion boards and read all your stories. So thank you for my morning read. You'll find that I've commented to all your posts, so you can go in and there's things that I've picked out that were profound and insightful. I've mentioned some things that may even give you direction when it comes to the final presentation. And know that the second part of that discussion board is going back in to the discussion board and commenting on at least 2 of your classmates. So at least 2 of your classmates is minimum. That is the minimum requirement for the assignment. To get that exceptional part of the rubric, you want to communicate with more than the minimum required. Make sense so far? Okay. And please, I will be sending out an announcement before the weekend, but please remember to go back in the discussion board. I'll tell you that if you look at the rubric, it's substantial amount of points. Know that the assignment itself is called the discussion. So, of course, the discussion part is going to weigh heavy. So many of you have done outstanding initial posts. Do not lose points because you didn't go back in. So please go back and return to the discussion and interact with your peers. Carter, great question. The discussion board is open until Sunday evening. So just like the assignment is due Sunday evening, your discussion board post is due completed by Sunday. Cool? Of course. Okay, week 1 assignment. And I kind of briefly went over this on Monday night's go-to session. And this session is also being recorded. So, on Monday night, what I told everyone to do to get started, to get a feel for what to do with this assignment, is to go on TED.com. And TED.com has this entire library of motivational, inspirational, educational, all the H'nals in the dictionary, ranging anywhere from a father-daughter b-boxing team to an Elon Musk vast universe that we live in, science. So the topics range in such a vast way that you can find something that you could be interested in. So my suggestion on Monday night was to go on TED.com and explore things that you would be interested in, something that you would connect to, and know that every single one does not have to be similar. I actually encourage you to look at different topics. That way, it'll give you a wide range of presenters and styles, so you can evaluate different style types and different presentation strategies to help you as you go through this month. The other thing I suggested is this is page 1 of the instructions. And in page 1 of pretty much all the instructions for your assignments, you'll have guided questions. Oops, I didn't mean to move that. You'll have guided questions. And these guided questions are there to help you form what you should be evaluating and what you should be looking for when you're watching the TEDs. So there's questions that you should have in your head, like, why was this presentation so powerful and moving? How did the speaker draw you in and care about the subject or topic? What kind of emotions did the presenter elicit? So when it comes to step 1 in evaluating the presentation, there's a difference between evaluating and summarizing. If you use these questions as a checklist, then you will understand exactly how to write an evaluation of a presentation, opposed to a summary that only talks about what it was about An evaluation is more than that. It is what you are taking away from it as an audience member. The whole purpose of this entire assignment is that we just got finished saying how the audience is the hero, and that's an intricate part of the presentation. So in order to know what an audience needs, you need to put yourself in the seat of the audience. And that's what this assignment does. You are the observer and evaluating the presenter as such. So Aaron, try to stay away from summarizing the questions and think more of evaluation. But yes, the questions are there for you to formulate a well-developed paragraph, kind of answering these questions. So not copying and pasting these questions one by one and then answering them. It's a culmination of all of them. These questions are meant to guide you into writing a well-developed paragraph. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay. Step 2 is really you're creating the document, or you're creating the how you're going to present this material. Okay, so I sent out an announcement and I sent out an email. I will quickly go through how you get those, just for those that don't know yet. I had your class open. Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, here's your class. Okay, envelope is getting your announcements. You press on the announcements. And I'm speaking of this announcement right here that was sent on the 29th. So I gave you a bunch of programs, and these are only suggestions on what you can use in order to execute this assignment. So you could use simple programs like Word or Pages, depending on what your access is. You could use presentation software like Keynote, PowerPoint, iMovie, or Windows Movie Maker. And you can go through lynda.com to view tutorials on how to use those. Or there's online platforms that you could use just as if you were using programs. So in this aspect, you don't need any programs. You don't need the physical programs on your computer. You can just use online platforms. And then, of course, these are the instructions on if you are using an online platform, or if you are using presentation software. These are instructions on how to submit those types of assignments. But this is what I want to bring your attention to. On this announcement and or email, I sent it to your email, I give 5 examples. These are 5 different examples of how you can create your documentation, or create your the way that you're gonna display all this information. So I highly recommend that you look at the instructions, you refer back to this go-to session, and you look over the examples to give you an idea of what's required for this assignment. Okay, Aaron, so if I make a video speaking on 3 TED videos, would that be okay as long as the basis of the question you gave us? Absolutely. And Aaron, if you go on those examples, I'm not exactly sure which one it is. Forgive me for that. But there is an example in there that the person chose to use presentation software, and they had a narrative, they had video in there. So you might want to check that out and to give you an idea of how you could present that material in that way. Cool? Cool. Okay, and step three is basically those 10 qualities. I'm going to repeat this because everyone freaks out. It's 10 qualities total. That doesn't mean 10 qualities for each TED Talk where you'll have a list of these 30 qualities. It's 10 qualities total. What I'm ultimately looking for is that you are utilizing examples from any one of the presentations to illustrate that quality that you picked out. Okay, so for example, if you are observing that the presenter is captivating and you use the word captivating, you are presenting examples from any one of the presentations to illustrate the fact that you observed captivating. Does that make sense? Awesome. Okay. The other thing, Carter, where can I find the slides you are talking over? I'm not sure. Do you mean right now? The ones up the, oh, okay. Are you logged in from a phone? Is that what it is? Okay, you should be seeing my slides then. I'm not sure why you don't see my slides. But it's okay because this is what happens. I record these sessions and I'll be sending out an announcement and email with the link to this recording. So you can refer to this at any time over the weekend. And my slides will be up there and you can totally see. Yeah, you'll have the recording, like I said, to this this go-to session, and I'll have all the slides that I'm using in the session. Cool. Okay. And that's it. So basically, in a nutshell, and I shared this on Monday night when we were briefly going over it, is this is the basics. This is, you are meeting the minimum requirements of this assignment and accomplished it. So you're giving me the title and the link to the TED Talk. You are providing an image that complements what you're saying. And, you know, I think I mentioned this on Monday night. It could be a simple screenshot of the presenter in the TED Talk, or it could be something that they mention. I believe I used a unicorn as an example. So say a presenter uses a unicorn as a symbolic way to relate to the audience. You may want to use an image of a unicorn, and that will relate. Then make sure that you have the 10 qualities and use specific examples from the presentation. So again, I know this is repetitive, but if you give me just a list of qualities that is not going to get you the points. That does not show me that you made that observation and you understand what that means. So make sure that you are backing that up with examples. And the last thing, of course, is the naming conventions. Last name, first name, and assignment name. So this is an example. Last name underscore, first name underscore, and it could just be the number of the assignment. And of course, online, it's actually 1.4. My campus students, it's 1.3. Talk about confusing. But you guys are, it's 1.4. Okay, do we have any questions for me? Cool. Cool, that means that I've done my job. Okay, last thing that I will leave you guys with is tomorrow is my actual birthday, and I will be taking the day off. And since it's Labor Day weekend, I will pretty much be off for the weekend. So I wanted to have this reach out before the weekend. Of course, this link is going to be up under your announcements, how I just showed you, and it will also be sent to your email, your @fullsail.edu address. You will have this, you'll have the examples to look at, you'll have each other to ask questions. You have everything you need to be successful for this week. Like I said, I give praise where praise is due. It's amazing that you guys are what you're doing on the discussion board. I have no doubt that you will execute this assignment amazingly, and I'll see great things. Grace, yes, that's okay. That's originally how it's presented, TED analysis, but I accept the number as well, just to save you some typing. So you're fine. Okay, so you promise there is no other questions. And thank you, Grace. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm looking forward to it. Well, I want to thank you guys for joining me this afternoon. Thank you so much for the participation. I love it. It saves my voice. And I appreciate you reaching out to each other. It's really important for everyone, not just to hear from me, but hear from you guys as well, as we can learn from each other this month. So thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Kristen, for the happy birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend. Please be safe. And have fun. Enjoy the time to relax. Get things done so you can enjoy the weekend. Definitely. Sweet. Well, thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend, and I will see you soon.